Hi everybody, welcome to my studio right here, and welcome to my first ever live Instagram portfolio tour and sale. So I'm just going to wait for some people to sign in. This is going to be live for the next hour, and I have a stack of small paintings ready to show you and that are all for sale. I've also got some door prizes, so if you want to enter the draw, just say hello in the comments and you'll automatically be entered into the door prize. And the door prize that I have three, are some prints. They're done on archival paper, and these are all up for grabs as door prizes. So these are two different prints. One has a border and one doesn't. So not originals, but prints. And they're the door prizes for tonight's hour-long sale. So you don't have to stick around for the full hour, but again, to be entered into the door prize, just write hello in the comments and you'll be entered in. I'm gonna do the draw after. And those are the first two prizes, and then the other prize is a set of 5 cards. So they're all wrapped up, so pardon the glare, but a set of some of my fall cards as well that'll be mailed out to you and shipped. So kind of excited to do this, never done anything like this before. Hello everybody, really excited to see some people signing in. And my plan is to talk a little bit about my works, show you all 40 pieces, and chit chat about them. So how it works is I've put a link in bio directly into the listing on my website. So I'm going to show you the pieces one by one, and when you find one that you love, I'm going to ask that you click my link in bio, go over to my website, and the listing will pop up. And that listing has different versions. So each painting has a number, and I'll let you know the number. So you would scroll down to number 1, and you would purchase it. The price, they're all different prices, but they will adjust as soon as you select your version. And then you can just hit buy now. The website collects all the information. It's going to collect your address and shipping info. All the shipping for tonight is free. And yeah, that's how you purchase. And I'll, of course, mention that a few times throughout the show just for people that sign on. But yeah, really excited to get started. What spurred on this sale is, of course, because of COVID, there's not as many studio shows. I used to always be a member of the Mary Allen Studio Tour that happened every year. And because of COVID, it's not happening. A lot of shows have been kind of slow to restart. So a lot of these smaller pieces would usually go to little shows, studio sales and things like that, but they've been kind of on hold. So I've been super productive over the last couple of years and really excited that I've painted a lot more than I thought I ever did. And I thought I really would love to have some of these pieces find homes. So I called it a portfolio sale because I literally took them out of my small portfolio. They're all small, they're all smaller than, I think the biggest one is this one, and it's a little bit larger than 8 by 10. So I've taken them out of my portfolio. As you can see, my portfolio, other than that one little piece, is completely empty. And I'm ready to find them some new homes. So they're all kind of a really random assortment. So some of them are plein air pieces, meaning pieces that I've done on location. Some of them are demos that I've done in classes. And a lot of them are just smaller works, things that aren't as big, not as detailed as some of my other works. And I find that when I am doing a show or, framing something for a gallery, I show some of my work at No Words in Cambridge and around KW, I tend to focus on like these large pieces. And so really large, highly detailed, kind of like my masterpieces, I like to put in those shows, and I pay for the framing and put them all in shows. And then I find that I end up accumulating these beautiful small works. Some of them are just as detailed, just teeny tiny. And I have a hard time kind of finding homes for them without kind of studios and traditional kind of retail spaces open. So I thought I'd give this a go. Went digital the last 2 years with all my classes. So why not go digital with a studio sale? So instead of going around kind of house to house in some of the traditional sales that pop up usually in the fall, this is kind of nice because you get to kind of stay at home, you can shop in your pajamas, and you can see kind of up close and personal some of my pieces that have been hiding in my portfolio for the last 2 or 3 years really. So they're all relatively recent as well. So before I get started too, I'm just going to mention how to shop one more time. First of all, if you want to be entered in for the door prizes, just write a comment, write hello in the comments, or do a little wave, and you'll be automatically entered into my door prizes. And when I say automatically, I mean that I'm going to go through and count them afterwards. But the door prizes are 2 lovely prints, so one for each winner. One of these, and I'll sign them as well, ship them out. And the other door prize is a set of my fall cards. So nice little bonus. I have one more prize too that I didn't mention. I have a $50 gift certificate for custom framing, and that is going to be with purchase. So the first door prizes are just for anybody that comments, and the second prize will be a draw from anybody that makes a purchase. So you'll see that a lot of these pieces, well, all of these pieces are unframed, and that's kind of the beauty of it. They're easy to ship. They're kind of easy to store, and so I'm offering them all kind of unframed and kind of raw. So you'll notice that some of them you'll see I really haven't done anything to. They're just ready to put in a frame, and I'll talk about that in a second. But they're ready to go, but I am offering a $50 gift certificate for framing for that will be a door prize for anybody that makes a purchase tonight. And of course, everything is free shipping. And to purchase, when you find a piece that you love, go over into my link in bio onto my website, CandiceLeylandArt.ca, and then just click right on the listing and you can purchase the piece. All 40 are kind of listed under that same listing. Let me know if you have questions. But wow, 7:08 already. I'm going to get started because I have 40 pieces. So I'm going to start with this one. And I talked a little bit about them being kind of like raw, like right out of my portfolio. They're unframed, they're unmatted. A lot of the times you'll see tape marks. And that's okay with a piece like this, often in shows, things like that. I clean up the pieces a lot or package them and things like that. And I really haven't done anything to prepare them. They are kind of straight off the easel, ready to go. And the beauty is that these would be hidden under a nice mat or a nice frame, ready to go. So this piece is some cone flowers in the summer. It's very loose, very expressive. And it is $80. And it's number 1. So if you go to my website, press number 1, it'll be a version code. It'll say number 1 cone flowers, and that's this piece. It's about 8 by 12. So it's one of the largest pieces in today's show. And that's number 1. And again, that's $80. All the pieces today are also under $85. There's no taxes and there's free shipping. So the second piece is from Homer Watson Gallery. So if you've ever been there, this is a demo piece I did during a plein air class. And so it's painted live on location in the sun. And I kind of loved just the way the light was hitting it. And I've held on to it. So it was a demo piece in a class, and I've held on to it all this time. And I couldn't kind of let myself let go of it. I love kind of the light. I love how expressionistic it is. So it is a plein air piece. It's done on a thicker watercolor paper. This is done on a 300-pound watercolor paper. And it's painted of the cottage, or is it the cottage? The coach house behind Homer Watson House and Gallery. So ready to frame on a 300-pound, which is a very sturdy kind of paper. And this is number 2, and it's $45. And it's the coach house at Homer Watson piece. It's a plein air piece. So $45 for a piece that I did during a demo at Homer Watson House and Gallery. So this is one that I have from July. Did I put the year on this? It's not from this July, but last July. So I participated in Doodle Wash's 31 paintings in 31 days challenge. So I challenged myself to create a painting a day for the whole month of July for World Watercolor Month. And this is one of my favorites. It is, I don't even know what these flowers are called. I guess brown-eyed Susans. It was taken from a photo in Huron Natural Area. I did a hike there that day and then came home and did this sketch. It's an ink and wash style. So what makes that a little different, it's actually got this brown ink and then it's got the watercolor around it. But I kind of love that subtle brown ink. It's got a number here, and traditionally this is usually where you'd put like a print number. But here it's kind of out of my 31 days. So this was day 30 out of my 31-day painting challenge. And I've called it July Flowers. And it is an ink and wash piece. It's a beautiful small piece. And there's a border. So you see my taping border. So I would have, kind of painted it. I would have taped all the way around the edges and then removed it after I painted. So what's kind of beautiful about pieces like this And they're nice and small. I've got some kind of chunky frames, so I love these in like a really nice frame, maybe one that's a little bit bigger. And they're nice and small. I have one over here. This is a really sturdy frame, but really tiny. So something like a smaller frame, and you could put it right in here. And the nice thing is these go on the wall. They kind of go into a nice corner as part of a gallery wall, things like that, or they'll sit. And I'm sorry, you can't probably see it. It'll sit on a corner as well, so you could get a really beautiful sturdy frame and put them in here. You could frame them bigger. They're all on paper, so kind of the nature of watercolor is that they work really good, traditionally framed. So here's kind of an example of how it would look in a mat. Of course, one that was cut perfect. Ooh, that one fits pretty well. That's almost the perfect size. So I love taking small pieces like this, putting them in a nice kind of substantial white mat or a colorful mat, and then putting them in a nice 8x10 frame. So love kind of the look of that. I am kind of a big fan of framing. I've worked in custom framing for a little bit, so I really appreciate kind of the look of a good frame, a nice mat, and things like that. So that's definitely my favorite way to present them. But you could go for like a heavier frame and no mat. You have lots of different options. But I love kind of smaller pieces like this. So for art collectors and people just getting into collecting original art, it can be really intimidating to buy super large pieces. And you know, you might not necessarily want to buy something that's going to go over your couch that's original by an artist right at the beginning of your art collecting journey. But pieces like this allow you to kind of collect art from a variety of different artists, frame it, and really start to kind of fill your home with original art in kind of a really affordable way. So again, a beautiful small piece. It's done on paper, and it's $45, and this is number 3. So, and another thing I forgot to mention too is Framing and Art on Belmont has also, I was chatting with Chris there, and she's offering $20 off framing for anybody that gets their work framed there. So I'm going to ship out these pieces in a day or two. I can also ship them directly to her if you let me know, and you can get a beautiful frame for them, and she's offering $20 off. And then one of you that makes a purchase is going to get the $50 gift certificate as well. So number 3, where are we? I'm always checking the time. Time limits are a challenge for me. I have a hard time keeping on track. So I've got this piece. This is done at the Mount Holmes Cemetery in Kitchener. Has this beautiful kind of statue, and I took a photo, and I remember painting her. And I've used Core's high chroma set, so I really played with the colors. So it's normally a very kind of somber scene. It was a very gray, muted gray, and I really played up the colors in this. So I loved kind of playing with that wet background there, that softness there, and then I really kind of increased the chroma on this painting. But this is an angel based on one of the monuments there. This one's $50, and this is number 4. It's probably listed as Angel. But yeah, I just kind of fell in love with how kind of quiet she was and how somber it was. And then I definitely was really playing with color at that period. So I've got those oranges and the yellows. So it's a really kind of bright rainbow piece. And I love that about this piece. So I've put a lot of detail here. At one point, I was playing with matting too. So these are really, as I kind of said, raw. They're kind of, right out of off the easel. But you could play with matting too. So depending on the space that you want to put it, you could do a more narrow mat. You could do something a little bit more dramatic. And that's something that's fun to play with too. So this piece is about 8x10. Do I have a ruler? Oh, that would have been handy. But you can see if you kind of, it's about the size of my head. But it's really still relatively small. It'll fit in a standard size frame. And it's $50. It's number 4 on my website, right there. So for anybody that's just signing in, I have a link in my bio, in my Instagram bio, that is taking you directly to the listing. All these pieces are under the same listing, so it's going to pop up and say live show and sale, and then you can pick the different versions. So if you want to pick this piece here, you would scroll down to the number. Each piece has a number. This is number 5, and then you would just select number 5. The payment information will automatically change, so the prices vary. I'm going to try to mention the prices throughout the show. They're all under $85. There's no taxes, and the prices will change. So as soon as you select number 5, which will be listed as purple pansies, the price will change to $40 for this small one, and then from there you can just click buy now. It'll collect all your information, and I'm going to ship them out in a couple of days. But this is number 5, another small piece. Another from last year's 31 in 31 days. So I think this is day 2, and it's quite detailed. So if you're wondering about pricing, I've varied them. A lot of artists will do like a square inch pricing. I tried to keep them kind of roughly based on size and detail. So it's kind of like more of an art than a science. But something that's a little bit more detailed will be a little bit higher, and size might be a little bit higher. So it's kind of trying to find that balance. So that's how I came up with the prices. This one's $40 because I remember it being quite a substantial piece. It's tiny, but there's a lot of detail in there. And it's got that beautiful printing. You can choose to keep that in. If you don't like the printing, you can crop it right here, and you can put it in a frame. If you had a tiny frame too, this is paper, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you cropped it down too. So it's on about a 5x7 piece of paper. And if you were sticking it in a tiny frame, which would just look lovely, it's original art, but it is totally okay. I give you permission to crop it down if you need to. Ideally, if it was me, I'd put it in a frame with a mat, something like this. You know, keep some of that border, but you can really do whatever you like and what fits in with your decor. So that piece is called Pansies. It's number 5, and it's $40. I'm trying to keep in order. So this was one of my first lockdown pieces. It's based on a cup of coffee from Aroma Cafe, one of my favorite cafes. And since we were in lockdown, I wasn't at the cafe. I remember them posting kind of this photograph of just a cup of coffee with a shadow. And so I took my paper, and I think it was about week 2 or 3 of like the hard lockdown, like the first one in March of last year. And this was one of my first lockdown pieces. And I find that whole period was really productive for me. So I made a ton of art. And I feel that this was kind of that catalyst. This was like the first time where I was like, okay, we're going to be here for a little while, a lot longer than anybody thought. And this was my first piece, and then I really feel like I kind of hit my stride in the studio, and I created a lot of pieces that I'm really proud of during that period. And this was one of the first. So I've got some of that coffee, I've got that bold shadow. I like to do that a lot in my work. I love purples and blues, and I've used that charging technique. So there's a lot of color here. I love that about watercolor, you know, it does that, you know, from far away it kind of looks like a solid. And then, you know, this is what's the beauty of it, is it kind of goes forward and back. So this is a lovely square piece, a little larger. It's $55 on paper. And again, I really didn't do a lot to prep these pieces. They are kind of fresh, kind of off the easel, fresh out of the portfolio. I'll probably trim it down a little bit so even my edges are a little bit crooked. And I've tried to make my prices as affordable as I can, and sometimes little things like that too. Having them kind of unframed, kind of unmatted, and kind of like fresh off the easel is a good way to really kind of make art affordable. And having small pieces like this is a great way to kind of start buying art without kind of, you know, breaking the bank. Joan says, your shadows and capture of light is always amazing. Thanks so much, Joan. Joan is a wonderful artist as well. But yeah, there's number 6 and 55. So I have no order. I really have a stack, and they're not in chronological order. They're not in price order. They're not in size order. The beauty of watercolor is that I can stack them like this. I'm maybe not the most organized person in the world, so a lot of my artwork is kind of filed quite chaotically, but safely. So they're not in a lot of order. So you have pieces that are from up to 2. I think the oldest here is 3 years old, and some of them are more recent. So this is from this spring. It's a plein air painting, So I started doing a lot of on location painting this year, a lot more than I've really ever done. This is done with my cup easel that I talk about a lot in my classes. It's done at the Guelph Arboretum. One of my favorite pieces, this is thicker, it's on 300-pound paper, which is a beautiful, very solid, very sturdy paper, and it was done on location. So it was a beautiful spring morning. I drove to Guelph, and I sat down with my paint easel, and I painted 2 paintings that day. So they took me a few hours each, done on location. This was my favorite. I love the yellows. I put a lot of really kind of soft color, and it's a lot of glazes, a lot of dry brushing. There's a beautiful texture to the paper. And I love this. I taught a demo of it at the Guelph Arboretum, and taught students how to paint a very similar painting. So I do a lot of paintings like this, and I find that they're inspiration for my classes. So, and then I end up with these beautiful paintings that, you know, again, like I was talking about earlier, they don't necessarily get into galleries, and they just kind of hide in my portfolio. So they're beautiful small pieces. I'd love if they could find a home. But there we go. This is number 7, and it's $60. So I believe all my plein air pieces that are on this paper that are a little bit more recent are all in the $60 range. Shipping is included, and again, just go right to my link in bio, and you can purchase the pieces directly from there. So I have a Shopify website. So if you purchase a piece, there's 40 versions, so for 40 paintings. So if you purchase this one here, as soon as you go to the buy now and kind of carry on through the website, it's not going to be listed for anybody else. So if you do see a piece and you're maybe waiting until the end of the show, it might be gone depending on if somebody purchases it. I've seen a few kind of emails pop up. I'm in front of my computer, and I've seen a couple have gone. I won't be able to tell until the very end, but they could be gone, and the listing will be taken down kind of automatically by my website. So keep that in mind too. If you love a piece, you can go ahead now and purchase it. For anybody that's new, make sure you say hello, because anybody that writes a comment in here and hits hello is going to be entered into my door prize list. So I've got a beautiful print, 2 prints for a door prize, and a set of cards. Anybody that makes a purchase is going to be in on the draw for a $50 gift certificate for custom framing. And anybody too today that makes a purchase is getting $20 off framing at Belmont Framing and Art Center. So this is another one of the larger pieces. It's about 9 by 12. And anybody in KW will kind of know this iconic location. It's the mill right in Uptown Waterloo, and it's from a photo that I took with all that water frozen over. So it's a really lovely kind of little area right in Waterloo Park. Again, one of my larger paintings available today, and it's $60. So love, this one has a lot more detail. So there's that grass there. Of course, I'm using my iPhone, so I hope it's focusing all right. There is a lot of detail in this piece. Someone says my old view from work. It is really close to Uptown Waterloo, so close to like Clay and Glass and the library. And it is just kind of lovely, and I like some winter views, although it's a little early to be thinking about winter, but I was excited to put that one in. One of the more finished works, a lot of these pieces, I don't know, I mean finished, but like more like kind of really hyper detailed. A lot of the other ones are kind of smaller studies and plein air pieces, but this is kind of one of my really more like detailed pieces. Logan says, we're out getting food. Sounds good. So this one, done pre-lockdown, back in the olden days, before lockdown. This piece is a little bit older, but it's a beautiful trio of tulips. So I think the photo was taken. I take reference photos all the time, so I'm always taking photos on my iPhone. And outside of Wilfrid Laurier, by the monument there's usually beautiful tulip gardens, And I think one day I sat there and took about 100 photos of tulips just kind of dancing together, and then I painted this. So it's kind of I painted a lot of flowers, and this is kind of part of my floral series, just a little bit smaller. This piece is $60. It's narrower, still would fit in probably 11 by 14 frame with a mat. So again, really kind of beautiful pieces that you can put kind of in a corner, like in a small area as part of a gallery wall. And I think that's kind of nice about pieces like this. They don't necessarily have to be the centerpiece over a couch or something really large, but it's beautiful to kind of fill your home with like small pieces of art. So we're now at number 10. I might have to speed this up. We might get very fast paintings in a second. This is just a morning sunset I did. And what I loved about this one is I've went kind of crazy with the bottom here. So I love the way that watercolor kind of mingles there. The colors were beautiful. This was taken outside of the original photo that I painted from was taken in the country, kind of up near Palmerston where I'm from. I think maybe this was taken a little bit outside of Palmerston. But it was a photo that I'd taken years ago, and then I kind of dove into like my archives for inspiration. I think I found it on, how Facebook comes up with the memories, and it was like, your memories from like, a decade ago. This photo came up, and then I painted it more recently. But I love the sky. So again, like kind of really in its raw form, you'll see where I taped it to my board there. You'll see it's really done just kind of on a very rugged piece of paper. So it's 140 pound. It's flattened, but you'll see these marks here. So like all my pieces today, they would look beautiful in a mat. And that's kind of the nature of watercolors. They're done on pieces of paper. A lot of artists will buy a large sheet of paper and then cut it down into little kind of mini pieces and then paint on those. So then by the time we frame them, you never see kind of those edges. But this is that raw format kind of, right off the gallery, right off the easel. So this piece is $30. It's a kind of small mini landscape, about 5 by 7. And that one's ready to go. I think some of them don't even have signatures. I will sign them before I go. Before I ship them off, I'll go through. So a piece like this is kind of funny, usually, and I'm terrible for forgetting to sign my work. I promise I'll sign it before I send it out. But a lot of the pieces might not even have a signature at the moment. So here's what's called Morning Walk. Another beautiful mini. Really obsessed with the light. Not done plein air, it was done from an iPhone photo. Bright Up Park in Waterloo. It has this beautiful path. One time I even saw some deer kind of right in here. I have a few photos of them actually that I'm kind of itching to paint, but haven't gotten around to it. But this is another piece that was done in that 31 Paintings in 31 Days series. This was number 4, and a lot more detailed. So again, when you choose to frame this work, you don't necessarily have to keep that title in. A lot of people will choose to frame it with a tiny kind of border so you can keep it in, but you can really choose. It's a lovely small piece, kind of based on one of the parks in Waterloo. And I love the light in that one. Of course, I'm always drawn to the light when I paint. So Homer Watson number 2. This one's called Ruins at Homer Watson. If you go around the corner at Homer Watson Gallery, there's these old mill ruins. And I sat there one afternoon and painted. This is number 12. It's $40. So a plein air piece, a little smaller than the other ones, on that 300 pound, very thick paper. That's the beauty of watercolors. They're pretty durable, but ready to frame. I've used a lot more bold colors. So it's kind of funny. Sometimes it depends on your mood. A piece like this seems to be very soft and delicate. And then here I must have been feeling a little bit more bold. Definitely bolder view of those rocks. I've seen a lot of artists cover it, paint this as well. It's a lovely little spot. There's the Grand River kind of in behind it, and part of the Walter Bean Trail. But I love the light in this. Let's see how close we can get. There's some cobalt turquoise there. I love these pieces here. See, sometimes I get attached to them too, and I feel like, oh, but I wanted to keep that one. No, I'd be so thrilled to see these on people's walls. We all get attached to our work though, don't we? And they all have little memories, and the more I sit here and talk about them, I start to think about, oh, I loved sitting there. I have memories of this one. This is Lakeside Park in Kitchener. Is it in Kitchener? What it's in Kitchener. So one of these little hidden gems that I had no idea even existed. It's a beautiful park, and there's lots of parking. It's lovely. And this was, I swear, the hottest day this year. I remember sitting there and just melted. I was determined to paint. I brought my cup easel. I brought all my paints out, and I was like, I'm going to paint all morning. And I remember thinking after about 5 minutes, I want to go home. And I don't want to paint at all. But I kind of made myself sit through it, and I'm glad I did. I love this painting. But done, true story, on the hottest day of 2021. So, true, blood, sweat, and tears right here. But Michael says, love Lakeside Park. Yeah, I do love it. And it's just such a hidden gem. It's got a really nice park, like kids kind of play area. And then you kind of go around, and it's like in the middle of the city, there's a beautiful kind of lake in the middle of Kitchener that no one knows is there. There's a lovely trail all the way around, and I was walking here. There's ducks everywhere. There's a beautiful trail. But this piece was done plein air at Lakeside Park. And all the beauty of plein air's pieces. It's got this beautiful bloom here. Which is something that you embrace in plein air painting. There's this like atmosphere and this mood to plein air pieces, because they're just kind of like they're beautiful in their imperfections. Like things like this you wouldn't find in kind of a gallery piece, but it has this beauty, this kind of beauty and imperfection, I guess. But there we go, Lakeside Park. I'm going to check out my clock here so I can kind of keep on track. So it's 7:33. We're halfway through. I should be halfway through my paintings. I'm not. So I was gonna take a break and talk a little bit, but I'm going to show you at least 5 or 6 more paintings, and maybe a little bit quicker, so that I don't go over. My goal is to end at 8 o'clock. So this was done at Rockwood Conservation Area. Definitely one of my favorite places. Spent some time there this summer. And again, a plein air piece. It's done on that 300-pound paper. It's about 5 by 7. This is number 14. So I apologize if I haven't been saying the numbers. I've been trying. If you go onto the online listing, it should have a little descriptor that should help you know exactly which one it is. And then the price will adjust too. So this one's $60. It's Rockwood Conservation Area. And it was done on just a beautiful evening. And it's number 14. Oh, this one. I love this one. So another simple piece. This is done for this year's 31 and 31 painting challenge. So I've done this challenge for 3 years by Doodle Wash, and they encourage artists to paint 31 paintings in 31 days. So I found a reference photo, and anybody that's painting too, you can find free reference photos online too. There's Facebook groups called Free Reference Photos for Artists. And they have all these royalty-free images that anybody can use. And I found this barn owl. And I've always been kind of obsessed with these barn owls. I just find them beautiful. True story, everybody just sees it and thinks the Harry Potter owl. And I've got to laugh. I think I've watched the first Harry Potter, and, confession, I've never watched all the Harry Potter books or movies. But this is that beautiful kind of barn owl. I used Daniel Smith's Moon Glow. Hope you can see that kind of color. And some Indian red, so some really kind of dark colors. There's a little bit of yellow ochre. And then the details are actually ink. So they are waterproof ink. Where's my Micron here? So it's a waterproof archival pen for the outline, and then it just got some subtle kind of shading. That yellow ochre, that Daniel Smith Moon Glow, which anybody that's an artist or a watercolor artist will kind of know that paint. It's kind of an iconic, kind of almost color shifting gray. I've used that in here to make this beautiful mini. And again, beautiful one that'll go in a nice matte in a larger frame. I love this in a heavy. I love this frame. That's kind of one of my favorites. But like a nice heavy frame. Of course, think about that a little bit bigger. That would look lovely. Nice little mini. So I hope he finds a home. I don't even know what the owl on Harry Potter is called. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. And I'm sorry, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. If it was a Star Wars fan, I'd be all over it. But that mysterious Harry Potter owl. So this one's $40 and it's number 15. And in that same series, another ink and wash piece. So I've been a little bit obsessed with ink and wash lately. You create this beautiful line work and then fill it in with watercolor. So all the line work is archival pen, and then the watercolor fills in. So this is, that's the beauty of watercolor. Those marks where the color mixes on the paper. And then I've got a lot of detail in this for an ink and wash. A lot of the times artists will kind of use ink and wash and kind of, they're very simplified. You use a lot of the detail in the actual ink work, but I put a lot of detail with the actual watercolor and glazing. So these are tulips, my favorite flower. I took a photo of a bouquet. I had a little photo shoot with one of my bouquets in my studio, and then I painted from it. So a lot of my works are painted from photos. Oh, I'm reading the comments now. Someone says it's Hedwig, and someone thought it was Hewitt, but that didn't sound right. Harry Potter fans, that's the one for you. It's Hedwig, $40, ready to go. But back to my tulips. This one's number 16, and it's $50. Again, all of these are no tax, free shipping. That's kind of the beauty of watercolor too. So when you're thinking about how do I get into purchasing art and becoming a collector, and watercolor is just a beautiful way to get into that, because while you do have to frame it, you can save on shipping. Like, they're easy to ship. They come kind of smaller, and watercolors tend to be a little less expensive than other media, and it's because we do it on paper. So they can be these beautiful pieces on paper. They're very delicate. They're easier to store. So when you think of people that are painting with acrylic or oil, a lot of the time they're on kind of boards, canvases, those panels, wood panels with the gallery kind of edges. They actually are quite expensive. So when you think about that going into the art, that's a big reason why watercolor is often priced as less. It's not necessarily because of the skill. And as a watercolor artist and teacher, I can probably tell you that there's definitely just as much skill with watercolors. But sometimes the materials are a little less expensive. So when you think about oil painters needing, oil paints are very expensive. They need all the thinners, ventilation. You really need a studio. So things like oil paints, oil paintings and acrylics tend to be larger. They tend to be more expensive. And as an art collector or somebody that's looking to put some beautiful original art in your home, watercolors are sometimes a little bit more affordable. And Batora Flora, Jen says, long live the giant wiener. This is Aporia. When I posted this one, I've always kind of loved it. I walk by it and I love it. But it's that love it or hate it statue. And I remember posting it on my Instagram stories. I said, who loves it? Who hates it? And it literally got 50-50. So it's a very controversial landmark. But I loved the sky this day. This was in the height of lockdown, and I was walking to the Greek restaurant that's right behind here. There's a beautiful Three Cretins restaurant. I was running to pick up my Greek food, and I caught this picture of this sunset. So this one is $75, a little bit more expensive, and that's because of the detail. So if you're wondering why a plein air piece like this is $60 and then this one's $75, it's because of the level of detail. I put a ton of time into this one, and I'm kind of in love with that sky. So it's a little smaller, but detail. It's a very detailed piece. Love the snow. And Aporia. Oh, I'm seeing that there's been some comments. Frankie von Schnitzel has bought the Herb Street Mill. I'm so happy that you bought it. You have quite a collection now of, you have another piece, the Pioneer Tower. So I love that you're supporting local and some of these local landmarks. And it looks like someone beat you to it. So it looks like there might have been a little bit of a competition for that one, which I'm thrilled to hear. That's really nice, but so sorry that you missed out. That's kind of exciting. Kind of like all the fun of like kind of a, an auction, but kind of almost a little bit mysterious. But anyways, there's Aporia, the giant statue. My son will call it the big butt statue when we go by, and it's kind of fun. He's 7. But love it. I love that. I love that sculpture. And right now they're completely gutting the municipal building that's beside it. So someone was too slow for a morning walk. Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know who bought what because I'm not getting notifications. So it's all kind of like in the back end. So I'm excited to kind of go through tomorrow, do the draws for the door prizes and to see and to start packaging these up. I'm going to be packaging them up safely for shipping. If you're local to KW, I might drop it right off on your porch or in your mailbox. If you're a little bit farther, I'm going to stick it in the mail. All the shipping is included, but I'm going to put them, this is an older bag, but I'm going to package them nicely so they'll have a cardboard back and a nice archival board for storage. They will get to you safely, and they'll be mailed or porch dropped off in a few days. Oh man. Okay, I'm not quite halfway through, so we're going to go faster. So this is another one from the Arboretum, another plein air piece. Beautiful shadows, another. So first thing in the morning, that other plein air piece with the yellows and the trees, that was in the same day. I did this one first, and it was like a frosty morning. So this was the first kind of spring plein air day, and you can see that there's still frost. So this is one of the, I think, the Italian gardens at the Arboretum. It's number 18. It's $60 on that really nice sturdy paper. Here's a little mini. This is $25. Done live on location at Restoule Provincial Park this summer. Love the colors. I used it as inspiration to teach a class on analogous color schemes. So it's got a beautiful kind of soft analogous color scheme here. Done from a morning hike at Restoule Provincial Park. And it's just a nice little mini. Perfect for a little frame. It's $25 and it's number 19. This one, really cute little pup. I think it was done of a friend's dog. Gosh, now it's been so while. I think it's one of those images that a friend had a puppy or a dog. This is an older piece. It's maybe 3 or 4 years old. And gosh, I can't even remember where I found the inspiration for this piece. But this golden retriever, golden lab, I'm not quite sure. I'm not really great with dogs. But I've really went with that bold colors there, and I've got some splatter, so that's gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, to really suggest the snow. So it's this kind of snow pup. A little bit larger, a little bit more detailed, lots of layers there. But oh gosh, I've got a lot of wintry pieces here too. I don't want to think about winter. So of course, the Arboretum's kind of a favorite spot. This is number 22. It's $55. Another one of my daily painting series, and it's of the Japanese garden at the Guelph Arboretum. So I went to University of Guelph for studio art. Arboretum is a very special place to me. I just love walking around there. And that is the garden there. And I have taught classes on it. So if you've seen this piece before, might have been at the Guelph Arboretum, I've taught a class with them, teaching students how to paint this exact scene. So this is the original, the inspiration. So those of you that have just signed in, make sure you leave a comment so that I can put you in for the door prize. This one is from Lady Glaze Donuts, best donut place in town. So it's another beautiful mini, number 21. It's $35. Ready to go into a little frame. I don't have a mat small enough, but beautiful in a mat. You could use a heavy mat. Like you could put like a really thick mat and make it kind of a very large frame with a very small painting. And sometimes that looks really nice. Really depends on what you want to do. And again, for those of you that are just signing into Belmont Framing and Art in Kitchener, she's offered $20 off of any framing. She does a beautiful job. And I'm also giving a gift certificate for framing as another door prize. So any of the purchases, and I see that there are a few, I don't know which ones, I can just note that there's been some action on my website. You'll be entered into the draw for a door prize of a $50 framing certificate. So here's my donut from Lady Glaze. I used some liquid Frisket to kind of mask out the sprinkles there, little shadows. I did a lot of detail in this guy. It's $35. I'm sorry that my camera isn't really showing it up. A lot of little shading in those little sprinkles. But it was delicious. Took a photo of it, then painted from the photo. Can't paint from life because I was really hungry and I had to eat the donut. But beautiful Lady Glaze donut. Logan donut. Another one of my post-lockdown plein air paintings on the Walter Bean Trail along the Grand River. Kind of hidden, and this is the entrance off of River Road. Is it River? past Lancaster, so kind of in this side of Kitchener. There's an entrance in the Walter Bean Trail, and if you go along, kind of off the trail a little bit, there's this swing that someone's put there, and it's just kind of lovely. So I've used like a Naples yellow. It's really playing with this soft muted palette, some gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, and that was one of my kind of early plein air paintings this year. You know the swing? Yeah, it's like this hidden. I remember just kind of walking and it's like this magical kind of like fairy kind of swing that's just in the middle of nowhere. Someone's, put there. So I'm speeding up. I'm kicking myself because I remember someone told me, don't do 40 pieces. You'll never get through 40 pieces. And I'm like, sure I will. And this is piece 24. So I'm going to be speeding through the last of them. So I appreciate everybody that's joined me so far. This is another mini of peas. It's $30. It's number 24. This is from this year's 31 and 31 days. I've got another little mini here, an ink and wash. This has actually got some watercolor pencils. So it's of Smile Tiger, one of my favorite coffee places. Is that a theme? I think I've got at least 2 pieces from coffee shops, one of Aroma and one of Smile Tiger. There's the Go Station right here, and they have these beautiful flowers out. So one of my first patio visits, a nice little mini there. This one you can never see on Instagram, but there's some gold. I've got some gold paints from Kata at Wanderlust Watercolors, and there's a beautiful gold sparkle in there in this caterpillar. So another mini, this one's $40, and there's a bit of a sparkle. Number 28. All right, speeding right along, another plein air piece from this year. This was from Victoria Park. Number 26, it's $60. All of these plein air pieces from this year are $60, and they're all on this beautiful card, 300-pound watercolor paper. And that was just done in an early summer afternoon at Victoria Park. And then this one's a little bit more abstract, so kind of a little bit of a change from some of my other styles. It's 8 by 10, one of my larger pieces today. It's number 27. And it's $40. So beautiful, kind of almost abstract. I've really let the colors play. I need to do more of this. I feel like that I can struggle as an artist between very uptight painting styles and detail and that looseness that is really beautiful. And then this is one where I'm pretty happy with some of the looseness here. All that color there. It was done plein air a little earlier. So this was done, I think, at the Elora Plein Air Festival the last time they had it. So this is one of my older pieces. It's $40, a little bit more abstract, and it's number 27. All right. So this is another more recent one. It's 70, a little larger. It's number 29, and it's this Clematis vine that I painted this summer. It was the first one in my 31-day painting challenge in July. So it was done kind of on location. So it's looser than a lot of my studio works. It's a little bit more expressive. I really kind of got carried away with this negative painting. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to just do kind of very simple paintings for my 31 days. And then I spent about, over an hour, 2 hours on this. Got lost in the negative painting. But I'm really happy. I used some Daniel Smith watercolors that have a little bit of shimmer. Can you really see it? Might be difficult to see on camera, but there is a little bit of shimmer from these Daniel Smith metallic colors that are a little bit different from the ones that I normally use. So that's, again, number 29. It's $70. And this is another, I think this is the oldest piece that I have. It's at least, I think, 4 years old. So it's been hiding in a portfolio. It's a little bit more abstract. So I kind of flux between this really kind of tight style and a very looser style. 9 by 12, the largest one I have. It's using some cobalt. And I think going through my portfolio and looking at some of these older pieces, I'm kind of inspired to kind of go back and maybe loosen up my style a little bit, because I do love these early pieces. It's got a variety of very soft colors here. I don't know what those flowers are called, but it's just kind of an abstract composition of some flowers in blue. I think I called it bluebells or something like that. A little bit larger. It's $70, and it's number 30. All right, and now we've got 10 minutes left and 10 paintings to go. I'm at 31. Another early morning on plein air session this year at the Picklington Outlook outside of Elora. So it's this beautiful outlook. It's kind of a hidden gem as well. This piece is $60, and it's the trees kind of in spring. And the thing that I love about this painting is just that little ripple, that bit of subtle sky, and how it's peeking up through the lake there. I kind of love this piece. Love the colors. This is the first piece that I did with my cup easel. So a lot of my students have seen me use that cup easel a lot. It's my favorite kind of setup for plein air painting. And that's from the Picklington Outlook. I'd love to see this in a frame. I really want to see this one custom framed with a nice thick frame landscape. That's what I'd love to see. Back to that series. This is number 32, and it's from PEI. You know, I'm seeing so many travel photos now that people are traveling again, and I have so many friends that are visiting the East Coast, and I traveled years ago to PEI, so this is a painting that I did from a photo that I took years ago. So it's done from last year's 31 in 31 Days Painting Challenge, but I just was so captivated by those red rocks and the ocean, and I think that was the first time I really kind of spent some time by the ocean. But kind of a moody little mini landscape. So by the time you measure it out, I'm not even sure how large it is. This is probably about like less than 4 by 4. But a nice kind of mini little landscape inspired by the Prince Edward Island. And that is $30. So perfect little kind of mini. It'd look beautiful in like a tiny little frame like that. You know, on a mantelpiece or as part of a gallery wall or on a bedside stand. The Dreamin' of the East Coast. Okay, so this one, before the show started, I got a notification that on my Shopify website that was like, you've made a sale. And I thought the sale hasn't even started. So this piece was $30, number 33, and it has been sold before the show even started. I added it to my list and I posted everything. I put the link in bio about 30 minutes before the show started. I sent out all the links to my people on my mailing list. And it was funny. So before I even got live on Instagram, this piece is sold. So love these anemones. Michael and Peter, you've been inspired by this painting, and I've seen some beautiful felt versions of this. So if you want to see a version of this, check out Michael's page. I'll link later. But they've done a beautiful felt, like wet felted version inspired by this. So so this piece is sold, but if you still want to capture some of these pink anemones, let me know and we'll send you to Wool Water Needle. They're on Instagram as well. And thanks so much, Joan. I just had to laugh. As soon as I saw that, I sent you a message saying the show hasn't even started, but yeah, sold. So this piece, another kind of fresh off the easel. Terry says, and maybe do a class in this style. You bet, I really should. That ink and wash style, really loose, and it's a good reminder that I need to loosen up and paint a little bit more like this. So this was done from a plein air sketch, and when I talk about straight off the easel, it's really uncropped. So this is kind of how it came straight off my easel. It's really kind of unfinished, but I laugh because it looks a little bit wonky. Really needs to be framed right to here. So when I frame them, I do all my creative cropping, and that's the beauty of watercolor. If it isn't perfect, I'm not stuck with any composition. So I'll trim it down before I mail it out, but it's going to look something like this in a frame. But it's, you know, the Starbucks in Waterloo. I painted it from there. I just loved the light that morning. I really played with the charging. I loved kind of adding all those deep colors. But Starbucks early in the morning. And I just love that play between light and dark. So kind of fresh off the easel, this piece is $70. It's number 34. There's no Starbucks logo, but it has that iconic green umbrella. So this was before pumpkin spice lattes were out. I think this was an iced coffee kind of day, but beautiful. So this is how it looks as I kind of taped it up and painted it a little larger. I believe there was like a bar here, so I kind of cropped the painting like that. So when we frame it, it'll look more like that in a beautiful frame, kind of with that beautiful edge kind of peeking through. So I love this one. I see your comments. The Starbucks piece is very beautiful. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Logan. I really love this piece. It's probably my most recent in the bunch, but I just love that shadows. I want to play with that style more and who doesn't love sitting at a coffee shop now that they're open again? And they have a beautiful patio, really nice spot. Okay, 4 more minutes to go. Another one with Waterloo. So I'm split. I've got a lot of pieces from Kitchener and a lot of pieces from Waterloo. And this was a beautiful sunset. I forget why I was downtown, or uptown Waterloo. And does anyone recognize where this is? It's right at the corner. There's been a lot of construction since then, so this is a little bit older. And I've got this shadow. It was a wet, just finished raining, and then the skies opened up for this beautiful sky, and I loved the wet and wet sky. I did put this in a show. I put this in the Walter Fetty show, and I called it Let's Go, and it was in there for a little while. So if you've seen it before, you might have seen it at the Walter Fetty show in Kitchener. But I love that sunset. I need to get back to kind of painting with more of these. This has been this kind of journey through my portfolio from the last 3 years has really been kind of amazing to see some of these works all together. But I tried to really leave as little detail in these cars as I could to really just kind of suggest the cars, but there's some beautiful color there, and some beautiful line work, some beautiful sunset. So I do love this piece. Again, a larger one, it's $75. It's number 35. And kind of back to Kitchener. Again, on the Walter Bean. I believe I did a class on this one, so I think this is a demo from a class. Probably painted it before the class, and then I taught a demo on to do this. So a lot of you have been in my classes, so let me know. I think we've painted this together. But I loved the reflection in this one, so I hung on to this piece for that reflection, for the wet and wet kind of charged background there, for that moody sky. So it's from a photograph behind Homer Watson on the Grand River. There's a beautiful trail back there, and if you kind of go off the trail, I remember one day, I think it was in the first lockdown, I think that's what this is from, and it was really back when we were like super locked down. So I remember this was my first kind of spring outing in May, and I brought my paints and I sat by the river with my headphones on, kind of alone, and I have all these feelings of being right by the river and how peaceful that was, and away from the city, even though it was in the middle of the city. But I love that piece, and I think I love the reflections. I'm kind of in love with the reflections there in the grass and all the color. But a nice small piece, number 36, and it's $40. Again, all the pieces are no tax, shipping included, or porch drop-off if you're in KW. So another early spring en plein air piece, the same size. So all these are the same size because I had all my paper. I bought it from the art store, and they were nice enough to cut it down because they have a large cutter. So they cut it down into similar sizes. So all these are the same. You can even see the Arches label. So it's 300-pound Arches paper. This piece is $37. It's $60, and this is Huron Natural Area. So if you go in, kind of take a left, there's this beautiful kind of dead trees. There's factories in the background. I've taken them out. I don't include them. But you see there's still a city kind of off into the distance. But I love this piece. My favorite is that kind of wet and wet background that I have here. So early spring painting session this year. And I'm at 8 o'clock, so I did run out of time. I'm going to just zoom through the last. This is number 38. It's $45, and it's these beautiful sunlit vegetables. And again, it's been cropped. This is the beauty of watercolor. As I tell all my students, we can crop. Acrylic painters are kind of stuck with what they have. When they pick an 8x10 canvas, they end with an 8x10 canvas, and we have so much leeway to crop. So I've cropped this one, and I love the colors there. That high chroma, high contrast. Vegetables, produce, farmers market. All right, 2 more pieces. I've got a detailed tulip. This one's number 39. It's $45. It's a little bit more detailed, but I love that backlit kind of aspect. So a really lovely floral. A lot of my florals are much bigger. I paint a lot of florals, and a lot of my florals end up getting into gallery shows and things like that. So this is a piece that I'm equally proud of. It's never gotten into a gallery, never gotten to the framers, but there's some beautiful detail. I love that warmth that comes through with that yellow and that little bit of a halo it has. This is number 39. It's $45. And last but not least, this is like, I think one of the earliest pieces that I actually have. I've held on to this. I think I got sentimental about it. It's one of my early watercolor paintings. And I've held on to it for a long time. But I love it. I've never shown it. I've never done anything with it. But it's definitely one of my earlier pieces. So maybe long after, you know, 100 years from now, they'll find my art in a museum and they'll say, this is one of her earlier works, her mysterious earlier works that never seen the light of day. But I do love this piece. It's from a photograph that I took of some fuchsias. It is $50 and it's number 40, the last one. And I think ideally, if I was going to put it in a frame, I'd probably crop it down a little bit. And if you buy the pieces, you have the options to crop it down any way you like. That's kind of the beauty of it. Most of them are pretty intuitive, but you can frame. You can put a mat on it. When they're yours, they're yours. But again, all the pieces are going to be available. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download this and I'm going to let people watch the replay. A lot of the pieces it looks like have already sold, which thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that's joined in. Thanks for everybody that said hello. Thanks for everybody that's just been so supportive. Thanks for everybody that's purchased a piece. I see kind of the list. I can't wait to get them packaged out, signed out. And I'm going to probably end it there. So again, if you go to the link in bio, there's a listing with all the paintings that are left and you can purchase them. I'll leave them up for a little while. I'll get them sent out. Everybody that's wrote a comment or said hello, I'm going to write these down and I'm going to do a door prize for the prints. There's 2 beautiful 8x10 prints that are up for grabs and a set of watercolor greeting cards that are printed. And then for anybody that's made a purchase, thank you. And I'll do the draw for a $50 gift card for framing. And everybody that's made a purchase as well, you'll get $20 off from the Belmont Framing and Art Store. And I'll hook you up with all the information for that as well. So ready to go to the framers. I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much. And this has been fun. All right. Have a great night. Happy Sunday.